Welcome to the fourth video in the Business Acumen Toolkit series, Gap Analysis. You've developed your budget plan, you're collecting information using business intelligence tools. Now, what should you be doing with this information? The series is meant more as a discussion guide as you strengthen your organization's business plan. Feel free to pause along the way and talk about how the information applies to your particular organization. The Business Acumen Toolkit series is brought to you by the Alaska Association on Developmental Disabilities with funding from the Alaska Mental Health Trust Authority. Your presenters are myself, Kim Champney,
and Brandon Cullum.
Brandon is the business brain of our team while I share my experience with strategic thinking and organizational development. You'll hear our different perspectives throughout the toolkit.
After watching this module, you will have an increased awareness of the value of prioritizing consistent financial monitoring, a different perspective on what to look for in monthly financial data, and be more familiar with possible causes of variance.
A gap analysis is the identification of a difference between where you are, your performance, and where you want to be, your goals, and understanding the difference's root cause. Gap analysis applies in multiple areas when managing disability services. In this module, we are going to focus on using gap analysis to adhere to a budget plan, how to read the story that your business intelligence tools are telling you, and to respond effectively.
Employees with budget authority need information to guide and to understand the impacts of their day-to-day decisions. In some DD organizations, positions with budget authority are typically thought of as management-level positions, those that have the power to authorize cash purchases or larger budget-related decisions. Yet, a frontline supervisor has authority over large amounts of resources when they schedule and set expectations for direct support staff. This is a critical budget-related responsibility. How informed are the frontline supervisors in your organization regarding this aspect of their responsibility? Do they think about their work in terms of resource management or financial authority? Do they have the information and tools they need to be successful financially?
It's important to create a culture that emphasizes financial responsibility at all levels. Remember that a budget is a tool that sets goals and responsibility for managers and supervisors. In turn, staff must justify their performance vis-a-vis these goals, and one of the best tools to facilitate this process is regular variance analysis. There will always be demands on time and crises to manage. This is the business of providing services. It's also important to pay attention to the big picture to ensure there are resources available to meet the organization's important mission.
Variance analysis is a crucial step in the financial management process. This diagram offers a visual tool for thinking about financial management. First, you develop a plan. This is your budget. Then, you monitor the plan through a series of reports, usually things like income statement and utilization delivered on a monthly basis. Then, you analyze any variances between the two and develop an action plan to eliminate the variance.
This is an ongoing circular process that is never complete. It should be a consistent and ever-present part of your regular operating model. Once an action plan is developed, managers then explain the success or failure of their action plan in subsequent cycles and revise as necessary to better target their performance goal.
Here are some specific things to consider related to income statement variances. If your revenue is below 100% of budget, then you can ask, was there a specific event that impacted services to an individual or multiple individuals, like a trip with an outdoor recreation program where a group of folks were out of town for a week with no service, or maybe a holiday or bad weather caused a change in scheduling across the board? Was there a documentation issue going on, such as late or missing notes? Are staff vacancies causing service cancellations? Were the original projections unrealistic? Be vigilant. It's important to understand what is going on.
If your revenue is down, that is below 100%, and your expenses are also down, this is not as concerning as other scenarios. It's important to continue to monitor as it indicates something is going on with revenue, but it's helpful that your expenses are aligned with that trend. If revenue is down and expenses are not down, This is a problem that needs more immediate response, as this will be affecting your operating margin. Look closely at labor costs. If fewer services are being billed than planned for, it makes sense that payroll would be lower too. If this is not the case, this could be a non-billable issue. You may be paying DSPs for more time outside of providing services than you can afford. Or perhaps overtime is up because of vacancies, or other projections are off, for example, utilities are costing more. Be a sleuth, solve the mystery. There may not be a simple solution, but the first step is to clearly understand what is happening. Why are things not going according to plan?
What should you look for in utilization reports? If services are being underutilized, ask why. Is it the individual's choice or lack of staff? Or is it a documentation error? Utilization is a good quality assurance tool. If you're paying staff for more hours than they're billing, does that make sense, or are you missing notes? Will this trend continue, or is it an exception to the rule? This is an important question to consider as you weigh how to respond. How significant is the variance? If this is a change that will significantly impact your projections for the remaining fiscal year, it may require an adjustment in the number of FTEs you employ. Remember from the resource planning process that DSP billable time must generate revenue to pay for the cost of providing services, including the overhead and indirect expenses in your organization. A consistent pattern of underutilization may require a reduction in administrative and operational costs. If services are overutilized, again, start with asking why. Is this overusage exceeding the units authorized in the plan, or just exceeding the projections? Or is it a scheduling error? Are staff being scheduled for too many hours with an individual? Or is there an error in billing? For example, AM/PM errors can have a significant impact if there's not a good process to identify that type of error. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is very different from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. If services are running ahead of what was authorized, does this trend need to be discussed with the care coordinator? What's the likelihood of getting increased service units for that individual? If it's unlikely an increase in services will be approved, what's the long-term plan? Can other supports be put in place to assist the individual other than paid agency supports? How does your organization monitor utilization?
DSP time is highly variable, yet financially critical to an organization. Often there are no easy solutions if labor costs are exceeding revenue. You want to make sure that direct support professionals have the training and support needed to provide quality services, and this may vary between individual staff as well as between programs or teams. When the team developed the budget, they made an educated guess on what the billable-non-billable ratio would look like. If you aren't tracking this, you will miss out on an important component of the cost of providing services. Gathering information on the times and places where non-billable time is more or less than what you planned for will provide important insight in future years. Develop a monthly report that tracks non-billable time by employee. What are the trends and what's behind the trends? This may point out areas of the service delivery process to be addressed. Are there missing billable hours? Are some supervisors more effective schedulers? If a supervisor is always at or exceeding the number of billable units in a period, is this good? Or are supervision and training needs unmet? Non-billable reports in particular can help frontline supervisors understand the impact of daily decision making. If the goal is for DSPs to bill 85% of their working hours over the course of the year, it provides a clear expectation for managers. It's important to work together on this expectation. Tie it in with goals and priorities of the organization. Talk about how to use non-billable time. This is precious time. How to maximize quality. Engage DSPs if possible in this discussion as well. Remember, teamwork plus transparency equals trust. What's your organization's non-billable time goal, and how is that goal monitored?
Balance sheets and statements of cash flow are more globally oriented financial statements that will likely be reviewed less frequently than the other reports we've discussed. They can, however, be particularly helpful during the strategic planning process and in executive decision making.
A note of caution. Keep in mind you get what you measure. What you measure and how you respond to performance will contribute to the organizational culture. If the expectation is to limit non-billable time to the bare minimum, basically time for documentation and the most basic training requirements like CPR renewal, what is the impact on workplace culture? Are you creating a situation where you have high turnover because DSPs are not receiving the training and support needed to feel successful, leading to more expensive services down the line? If you are pressuring programs for services to be fully utilized, are you inhibiting the independence of people receiving services? This is where an organization's mission, vision, and core values, as well as performance measures specific to quality of services for people being supported, are as important as the financial indicators. They go hand in hand.
In this module, we talked about creating a culture of accountability by establishing performance monitoring systems and then following through on expectations. We also suggested questions to ask when reviewing information. Again, it's important to create processes that require staff to critically analyze variances. If possible, this detailed analysis is most effective if done at the individual recipient or individual staff levels.
Change is difficult, but as this quote states, it is inevitable. The landscape for providing DD services has always experienced change, and it will continue to change at an even faster pace with shifts in technology and expectations. It's important for leaders to create resilient and nimble organizations prepared for change. We will address this in the next module, Leadership and Organizational Change.